So, when it comes to anime, there is just an ungodly amount out there. So it can be hard for new fans to know where to start. So with this video, I'm going to be creating a beginner's guide to anime, and not only will this pertain to new anime fans, but also help parents navigate with their children the space of anime. As when it comes to anime, a lot of people think that because it's cartoons, everything is kid friendly, and that is not the case. So that's why I'm going to start this video with the different kinds of anime and the demographics for each kind. So to start off, I'm just going to go down the list and give the appropriate age range for these different types of anime. That way you know what you're looking for and what's appropriate for your kids or for you, so that you are being safe when consuming this media. So, for parents who are into anime and kind of want to start your children on their anime journey, the best way to start is with Kudomo. And this is specifically anime targeted for ages 3 and up. And while it's not very common to see them, there are a ton of different animes for children out there. Next, let's get into the most common forms of anime that we see, which is shonen and shoujo. So these two are specifically targeted for teenage boys and girls, and like I said, is going to be the most common forms you see. Think of Attack on Titan, MHA, Dragon Ball, One Piece, and the rest of the big three. But to put an age range for shonen and shoujo, you're typically looking for ages 8 to 18. So it has a little bit of broader range than Kudomo, and that leads us into the next one, which is for young adults going from ages 18 to 40 plus. And this is going to be seinen and josei. So now that we got the age demographics and the different types of anime out of the way, let's get into source material and canon. So these first three that I'm about to name are basically just black and white comics that originate from different parts of Asia. And that is manga, manhwa, and manhwa. So manga is going to be your most typical form of source material, and that's basically comics that come from Japan, with manhwa being from South Korea and manhwa being from China. And with this, we established different types of canon within the anime community. So you have your established canon, which comes from the source material. So if it comes from a manga, manhwa, or a manhwa, that is going to be your base canon. And when it comes to different anime debates, this is where most people will draw information from and is considered the most reliable source. And then the next type of canon we have is anime canon, which is basically extensions of the manga that help build more for the story which can't be depicted in a manga. And then we have filler. And basically these are episodes of anime that kind of pad a season. These episodes are kind of used to fill spaces between different anime canons, typically to give animes more time to adapt source material, or to let the manga get more ahead so that there isn't any pacing issues within the anime itself. So in addition to manga, we also have light novels, and these are regular books that are typically 300 pages or less. And these also can be used to establish canon within different manga or anime. These are basically additional stories added to the source material, and these often get adapted into its own manga and sometimes even anime. And now that I've got all that out the way, let's go into some terminology that will be common amongst the anime community. And to start off with, let's start with Shonen Jump. So Shonen Jump is a Japanese manga that houses a lot of different mangas, and it has weekly, monthly, and quarterly issues that contain individual chapters of manga. And so in terms of the anime community / manga community, this is going to be basically where you get all your news from. Everything basically goes through Shonen Jump, as a whole. And next, let's talk about the big three. Now, there is a lot of debate in the newer fans about what the big three is. But for new fans, this is what I want to tell you. The big three is not a subjective thing, it is a fact. And so the big three refers to the three biggest mangas that were profitable in Shonen Jump during the early 2000s. And those three anime are Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach. And no matter what anybody tells you, this is not up for debate. This is a matter of fact, not opinion. And these next two terms are often used interchangeably, but let's go over the slight minute details, and that's going to be weebs and otakus. So starting with the first one, weebs are basically people who are interested in Japanese culture as a whole, and then you have otakus, which are people who are interested in anime and manga. And within the Japanese culture, otaku kind of has a deeper meaning, kind of meaning obsessed with anime or manga. But here in the US, it's just kind of a general term for anybody that's interested in anime or manga. And now let's get into some recommendations for different anime. And my recommendations are going to pertain specifically to shonen anime and seinen anime. So starting with shonen, I have 3 recommendations that I believe are good starter animes for new fans. And first up is going to be Demon Slayer. Now Demon Slayer has a great, basically formulaic story. It's very typical anime, and it is the perfect anime to be a starter because it has a genuinely good story, great animation, and to the point where the animation for certain episodes have even broken the internet. So it may not be uncommon for people to have heard of Demon Slayer at this point, even if they're not in the anime. And so my next recommendation is going to be Dragon Quest Dai. And so this is a older manga that was recently adapted into an anime. And this one is a little bit of a longer anime, but the pacing and the animation is top notch and has an overall great story and is maybe just a step above Demon Slayer in terms of formulaic storytelling as well as plot twists. And for my last shonen recommendation, I am going to recommend Shangri-La Frontiers. Now this anime is for the gamers, and the story is just about a guy who is very interested in trash games, and within this world, VR is the standard. So virtual reality games is the normal, and the technology is basically just out there. And Shangri-La Frontiers is actually currently airing, so it is an anime that you can watch in real time, and I highly recommend it. I am currently watching it. It is currently on episode 13, so it's not much of a time commitment. You can relatively get through it within a couple of hours just to catch up if you wanted to binge this series. And now let's get into my seinen recommendations. And so first up is going to be Bungo Stray Dogs. This is another kind of long anime. It currently has 5 seasons, and it just has a lot going on, but it has a very interesting story, and I highly recommend it. And if you're looking for a more grounded anime to get started with as a young adult, then Vinland Saga is probably gonna be for you. So Vinland Saga is a Viking story about a kid named Thorfinn. And Thorfinn basically goes through his life in this anime as he experiences different life-changing events. I'm not going to spoil anything just because I want you to go into this story with a fresh mind. But this anime has terrific storytelling as well as beautiful, I mean beautiful animation. I cannot recommend this anime enough. and I recommend that at some point everybody watches this anime. And now, if you are one of the horror fans, this next one will kind of dip its toes into your genre, and that is going to be Glimnar. And so Glimnar is about a group of high school kids that get trapped within this game and gain different special abilities that allow them to fight against monsters. Now, this is the most basic description I can give for it without spoiling anything. So if this seems to pique your interest, give it a try.